An obligation to help people fleeing from war and persecution. I'm joined now by UNHCR spokeswoman Melissa Fleming for more on the story. Melissa, thank you for joining us here on CNN. And first, your thoughts on this migrant mess in Hungary. We got migrants, refugees stuck there languishing for days at a train station. Why has it come to this?
Well, absolutely. We are extremely concerned about this backlog. What we are seeing are large numbers of refugees. And I'd like to emphasize that the majority of people coming to Europe, the majority of people stuck in that train station are people fleeing the conflict in Syria. After that comes Iraq and Afghanistan. So we'd like to use the term refugee when describing them. What we are hoping is that there'll be some pragmatic solutions for the time being, short term. Let the people go so there is not this catastrophe of people lying on the sidewalks, sleeping in the streets. Let the people go. Meanwhile, obviously, this is a wake-up call to Europe that there has to be solutions that are not just pushing one problem from one country to the other and everybody ending up disproportionately in countries like Germany.
There has to be a solution, and there has to be help for what's happening now. Our correspondent on the ground in Budapest, Arwa Damon, she's been at the train station for days. She has not seen any international aid workers there. The migrants, they've been begging for Germany to help, for Angela Merkel, but not the United Nations. And I have to ask you, where is the UN during all this, during this crisis in Budapest?
Well, we're certainly in the background advocating for a solution to the problem. I mean, UNHCR is traditionally operational in developing countries. We have a strong advocacy role in the capitals of Europe. These are countries who generally deal with asylum claims and refugee issues and migration on their own. We are happy to stand in. We've offered our help to the Hungarian government. We can't impose help. But we're advising, let people take the trains, let people travel regularly to where they want to go. They have train tickets. We have a situation where we need flexibility. When people were not able to take the trains, they got on the backs of the vans, and we saw that 71 people suffocated. So let's look at the human rights of the people and the needs of the people right now in this bottleneck situation. Let people go, and let's look at the problem globally as a European problem urgently in the coming days and weeks.
Right, and just to clarify this, the acute situation happening in Budapest, Hungary, hundreds of migrants, hundreds of refugees who have fled war and conflict in Iraq and in Syria, they have had no beds, very little food for days, infants that are starving. You have offered to help, and the UN has offered to help, but the Hungarian officials are not allowing, the UN not allowing international aid workers to assist at this time?
Well, we have not any indications that people are starving. In fact, we're very heartened by civil society coming out and offering the kinds of basic needs. What's really the problem is that people need to move on. That's the issue, and that's what we're working and advocating for. We understand from our Austrian colleagues that the Austrian authorities are ready to receive the people. There are officials at the train stations, at the border of Hungary. There are people there ready to help and to receive and to allow people to also move on, as they did the day before yesterday on Saturday when there were such huge crowds coming through there. We've seen this situation move from one country to another. There's a huge problem in the Greek islands, 3,000 people coming to one Greek island on one day, and the people are just moving from one country to another, ending up in Germany. This is not sustainable, but in the meantime, we shouldn't just let people languish and stuck without any solution to their problems.
Right, as you point out, it's not just the situation there in Hungary. The crisis there reflects a much larger problem across the EU. So what is the solution here, and what should the priority be for EU leaders? Should it be settling the migrants? Should it be dealing with human smugglers? Where should they start?
Well, unfortunately, you can't tackle one problem without the other. The migrants and refugees coming to Europe are a symbol of the desperation of root causes based in conflicts that are not being resolved, new conflicts that are erupting, that are driving so many people from their homes. The international community has proved itself incapable of preventing and stopping conflicts. And what we say is, if you can't stop the conflict, the least you can do is help the victims. So people are coming to Europe. We need to have systems in place. We are advising Europe, and there's some good plans on the table. For example, to have receiving stations in country, the first country where they reach Europe, registration possibilities, so that they don't have to continue on this journey all the way, across many borders until they reach their destination. They could apply for asylum in the first port of entry in the EU. That's one possibility that we're looking at urgently.